Hello, dear soul, and welcome to the Light Bear's Library. In today's journal entry, I want to tell you about a revelation that I've had, and it specifically relates to personality type and the 8 cognitive functions, the Jungian cognitive functions. I was watching a YouTuber last night. His name is Renaud. He talks about personality type from a Jungian lens, and he has recently done a series of videos on the 8 cognitive functions from a framework that he's been working on himself and explaining each of the cognitive functions and their sort of the fantasy of each of these cognitive functions that arises when we're small babies, So each of the 16 personalities have a dominant function that everything kind of filters through. And for my personality type, which is an INFP, it's the introverted feeling function. And this is also the dominant function for the ISFP as well. So I made some notes about his kind of view of this. And as I was listening to that video on introverted feeling, but also yesterday where the revelation came from was he did a video specifically on INFPs and how he's using his framework to bring the 8 cognitive functions together to look at how the INFP works inside. And that's where my revelation happened. But so I'll just kind of talk about his framework for looking at introverted feeling, and then explain how it relates to my own personal story. So he talks about how FI is that our feelings are within us, that they're as opposed to being universal, they're individual, they're singular, and that he calls his sort of catchphrase for introverted feeling is emotional containment, so that everything's kind of contained within. And so the fantasy of the FI of FI. So when we're babies, we all kind of have this maybe potential anxiety as to, does our mother love us? And to calm that down, we take in that the love of our mother FI into ourselves, and then keep it in there and protect it. And it's kind of like nothing can touch that sense of safety that we've got in ourselves. So that helps us to kind of keep the primitive fear of death away from us. And so with that, we develop a sense of self-sufficiency, autonomy, and kind of containment, so that all of the feelings and values that we have are held within. And that kind of we have the like an internal landscape of feelings and values, and it's something that can't be touched by the outside world. So I found this to be exactly right for me. It's something that and as I was watching this video, I played it to my husband, who's an INFJ, which is what Renaud is, and what his channel has kind of mostly been focused on was INFJ. And INFJs use a different feeling function. They use extroverted feeling versus introverted feeling. And I've explained to my husband that I have this plexiglass shield that I have come up with as the metaphor for how it feels to be me, that I have a plexiglass shield that allows me to hear other people's thoughts, beliefs, opinions, emotions, everything. But there's plexiglass so that I know those aren't mine. They don't belong to me, right? They're those people's, and I don't have to take them on. So that's really helped me throughout my life to be healthy in that way, emotionally healthy. And so that was kind of the so the revelation to me was that over the last 5 years, there has been some like earth-shaking, shattering stuff that's happened inside of me in my relationship with my mom. And I kind of felt like that relationship with my mom, that safety and security, had been like locked up inside of the emotional containment field, right? Like she was my safety, security, and I realized that that's kind of maybe what they call a mother complex. Like I really identified with her. If things went wrong in my life, I would call her, and that's not good. But I realized that she's been inside of my plexiglass in my bubble, and so in the last 5 years, I've realized how conditional her sense of love is, and I felt like there's been a real rejection from her and a real lack of care and love, and that's all really good, because what it's done is shaken the foundations and shattered my plexiglass. And what Renaud was saying is, I feel like I have lost that sense of emotional containment over the last 5 years, to the point where, there's been an earthquake, there's been, destruction and chaos. I feel like I've been in this like ocean hanging on to like a lifesaver, and it's been really discombobulated. And then some other stuff with my family, I realized like my family members were partly inside that plexiglass just because I'd grown up with them, right? And you expect to have love and care from those family members. And so when all that's shown to be kind of false, it feels like there's been a bit of what's the word? I wrote it down. It doesn't matter. But I feel like it's been shocking. So with this emotional containment idea, I realized it's like, oh, I can just rebuild my emotional containment. I can put up my plexiglass again. I can, so today, instead of feeling like I'm floundering hanging onto a lifesaver out there in the ocean, it's like, I feel like I'm in a boat now, and I have some protection and some containment, and I have hope and enthusiasm inside myself again, because I'm like, oh, I can rebuild, and my internal landscape, my emotional landscape, my value landscape, and I can build a lake in it there, and I can plant some trees over there, and like I can recontain myself. And I can't tell you how excited I am by this revelation. And I'm so grateful to Renaud for this, because it's been I couldn't understand what was happening to me, and I just felt so lost. And I've been having so many psychosomatic stuff happening in my physical body as a reaction to this, and it's been really disconcerting. I know that the symptoms I'm having are all related to this emotional disturbance, this emotional earthquake that's happened inside of me. And I can now feel like I can rebuild. And betrayed. That was the word. Betrayed by my family. So now I can rebuild it with everyone. So here's the thing. I can rebuild my plexiglass with everyone else on the outside of it now, No more family inside, no more husband inside, like just me and my emotional containment. And the thing is that this is not a fortress. It's not a castle. It's not a place to I'm not safe unless I'm inside of it. It's like, no, it's plexiglass, which allows me to actually love people so much more because, I can let them be themselves, to have the emotions, the values, the feelings, the thoughts of their own. And I don't have to get upset or try and push them away because they're saying something I feel is wrong or whatever. I can just allow them to be them without feeling like I have to take on their thoughts or their beliefs, which is sometimes how it feels, and it feels threatening, like I get threatened. But with plexiglass, there is no threatening. So therefore, I can just fully love people as they show up, and if they let me down or whatever, it doesn't have to hurt me, because, I can understand. And that's why type has been so helpful for me, is to kind of recognize how people can see the world so differently. And, I can still love them. So that's been the revelation. And I'm feeling so positive about the world, because I'm like, oh, I can just rebuild my safety and my emotional containment, and it's wonderful. And then I guess the last thing I'll say, as sort of in addition to FI, he talks about extroverted intuition, which is my second function, and it goes out into the world and picks all the ideas and thoughts and metaphors and brings them back in through the FI lens, and kind of discerns whether they fit within my emotional value landscape. And I feel like over the last 5 years, that's really shaken too. Like, what do I believe? What do I think? And so now I can rebuild that containment and, keep the things that are important and of value to me, let go of the other things, and it can just be like a wonderful place to be inside again. Anyway, if you have introverted feeling, I would love to hear from you how this idea of emotional containment feels to you. Do you have a metaphor that you've come up with, like my plexiglass? And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And I know we're lots of introverts here, but so if you don't feel like commenting, give me a thumbs up if this was helpful, a helpful reflection for you. And please subscribe to the Light Bearers Library. Talk about, being human, and how we can love ourselves and love each other better. So many, many blessings. Signing off for today. XOXO, Kate.